I felt like Hollywood is just spineless, en masse. And it really felt like, oh, this is a really clear indication that we're not the cool club anymore.
Diddy was at this party?
Mm-hmm.
Denzel Washington was at this party?
Yep.
Birdman was at this party?
Yes, he was.
So you're telling me Denzel Washington was... He had a beanie on, socks on, and a gold chain, and that's it. In front of...
Yep.
Funny. Because he sure portrays himself to be holier than thou.
Well, so a lot of them do.
Motherfucker gay in Hollywood, you never expected. They be having these big mansion parties, and the mansion party, the whole mansion is a party, and then it's a separate party in the little rooms. I ain't been famous that goddamn long. I'm excited in a motherfucker to be at the mansion party. You be looking at all the goddamn rooms, and you around and look in the wrong room and
Hollywood loves rebellion, but only when it is performative. The moment someone refuses to play along, refuses to flatter egos, or refuses to bend their values, the tone changes. Jim Carrey and Denzel Washington both reached the highest levels of success in Hollywood, yet both are often described as difficult, intense, or quietly disliked. That label does not come from scandal or bad behavior. It comes from resistance. In recent interviews and resurfaced clips, Jim Carrey has openly explained why Denzel Washington never fit comfortably inside Hollywood's culture, and why that same resistance made Carrey himself a target. This is not about hatred in the usual sense. It is about discomfort. It is about two men who refuse to become hollow versions of themselves for approval. Jim Carrey's issues with Hollywood did not begin with politics or controversy. They began the moment he stopped pretending that fame was fulfilling. At the height of his career, Carrey had everything Hollywood promises: money, awards, influence, and admiration. But instead of protecting the illusion, he questioned it publicly. He talked about emptiness. He talked about ego being a trap. He openly criticized the system that had rewarded him.
What did you think as you watched it unfold, and then what happened after?
I was sickened. I was sickened by the standing ovation. I felt like Hollywood is just spineless, en masse. And it really felt like, oh, this is a really clear indication that we're not the cool club anymore.
There was some question today about if anyone else had walked from the audience and done that, they would have been escorted out by security or maybe even arrested. The police asked Chris if he wanted to file charges. They asked Chris, do you want to file charges? And Chris apparently said no, he did not.
He doesn't want the hassle. I'd announced this morning that I was suing Will for $200 million because that video is going to be there forever. It's going to be ubiquitous. You know, that insult is going to last a very long time. If you want to yell from the audience and disapprove or show a disapproval or say something on Twitter or whatever, you do not have the right to walk up on stage and smack somebody in the face because they said words.
No, I agree. I think we all agree on that. I just thought, Jim, that it escalated to that. You know what I mean? That it escalated to that level.
It didn't escalate. It came out of nowhere because Will has something going on inside him that's frustrated, and I wish him the best. I really do. I don't have anything against Will Smith. He's done great things. But that was not a good moment. It cast a pall over everybody's shining moment last night. You know, a lot of people worked really hard to get to that place and to have their moment in the sun and to get their award for the really hard work they did. And it is no mean feat to go through all the stuff you have to go through when you're nominated for an Oscar. It's a gauntlet of devotion that you have to do. And it was just a selfish moment that cast a pall over the whole thing.
Hollywood tolerates eccentricity, but it does not tolerate exposure. Carrey did not attack individuals. He attacked the structure. He described Hollywood as spiritually hollow and emotionally disconnected from real life. That made people uncomfortable because he was speaking from the inside. When Carrey later defended figures like Denzel Washington, he framed them as men who refused to perform weakness for approval. In Carrey's view, Hollywood thrives on insecurity and control. People who do not need validation are unpredictable. Carrey's reputation shifted quickly. He went from being a beloved comic to someone described as unstable or difficult. The same industry that once celebrated his authenticity now used it against him. This pattern mirrors what happened to Denzel Washington. When a person refuses to play the game, the narrative changes. Suddenly, confidence becomes arrogance, integrity becomes ego, and silence becomes punishment. Denzel Washington's conflicts in Hollywood rarely come from chaos. They come from structure. He believes in hierarchy, preparation, and respect for roles. That belief directly clashes with modern Hollywood, where fame often outweighs discipline. The Ellen Pompeo incident during Grey's Anatomy is a clear example. Washington was hired as a director. When Pompeo improvised dialogue, he corrected her. His words were simple: "I'm the director."
Let's hear Ellen recalling her big blowout on the set of Grey's Anatomy with a director whose name we all know, Denzel Washington.
You had Denzel come in, right? And he directed.
Oh my God, Patrick. Denzel was amazing because, you know, Denzel's a movie star, right? He doesn't know about directing TV. So Denzel went ham on my. He was like, "I'm the director. Don't you tell him what to do." And I was like, "Listen, this is my show. This is my set. Who are you telling? Like, you barely know where the bathroom is." And like, you know, I have the utmost respect for him, but like, yo, we went at it. He did the show because his wife is a big fan. We didn't get through it without a fight. But, you know, that's actors for you, passionate and fiery, and that's where you get the magic. So it was an amazing experience.
All right, so we got a little context. But you were in that infamous episode, so what was your experience with Denzel?
I mean, I would say in all of the television that I've done in my life, that was one of the most profoundly impactful acting experiences. Everything that he brought to us as a note, as an acting note, was gold. And we would like grab it and just like keep it forever.
I can't imagine, like when the goat walks in the room, you're like, okay.
Unbelievable. I mean, unbelievable.
So good. So good. Well, speaking of Mr. Washington, his classic film Training Day, the one that got him a Best Actor Oscar, turns 20 next week. So, what does Denzel think of it now? In short, he doesn't.
That statement should have ended the conversation. Instead, it sparked outrage. Pompeo reportedly pushed back, claiming ownership of the show. She later complained publicly, and fans responded strongly. Many saw her reaction as entitlement, while Washington's stance was viewed as professional. But inside Hollywood, moments like this do not disappear. They quietly define reputations. Washington does not soften his authority to protect feelings. He believes that clarity is respect. That mindset makes people uncomfortable in an industry built on blurred lines. Actors directing actors. Friends managing friends. Power disguised as collaboration. Washington does not operate that way. He separates roles clearly, and that clarity feels threatening to people who benefit from that
Hollywood prefers leaders who ask permission, not leaders who expect standards. Washington expects standards. That alone is enough to earn resentment, even from people who publicly praise him. The tension between Denzel Washington and Quentin Tarantino during Crimson Tide reveals another layer of Hollywood conflict. Tarantino contributed uncredited rewrites that included racially charged dialogue. Washington challenged it openly. He did not argue in secret. He did not play along and complain later. He addressed the issue directly.
You've never worked with Quentin, have you?
No, he's never hired me.
Quentin?
He's never hired me.
Quentin, what's the problem with you? What's wrong with you? Why have you not ever written a film for Denzel? What's wrong with you?
I haven't been that lucky.
Okay. Well, are you going to do one now?
It would be my honor, and I'm really not just saying that. I think he is one of the best actors in the world.
That moment matters because it exposed a power imbalance Hollywood prefers to ignore. Tarantino was seen as a creative genius. Washington was expected to comply. Instead, Washington questioned why certain language was necessary and who it truly served. Years later, they reconciled, but they never worked together again. That silence speaks volumes. Hollywood often praises bravery in scripts, but resists bravery in real life. Washington's challenge forced a conversation that many preferred to avoid. It was not about censorship. It was about intention. Who gets to decide what is authentic? Who benefits from shock value? Washington did not accuse. He questioned. That questioning disrupted comfort. Jim Carrey has often spoken about how Hollywood confuses boldness with cruelty and honesty with hostility. Washington's refusal to stay quiet fit that pattern. He did not attack Tarantino personally. He defended his own boundaries. In Hollywood, boundaries are often mistaken for rebellion.
Thank you. That is the end of the world as we know it. I also want to thank the Hollywood Foreign Press for acknowledging comedy. Jim, you know this. Normally they look at comedians as like very special people. Thank you very much. And you allow us to be in the room with the adults. You nominate us. You even have a category for us, comedy and dancing. There's a lot of dancers who could have been up here tonight, but they didn't make it. I also want to thank the Hollywood Foreign Press for the lovely Star Trek the Musical set. But you do acknowledge comedy, which is a wonderful thing over the years, and that's been a glorious, glorious thing.
After the 2022 Oscars incident involving Will Smith and Chris Rock, Denzel Washington was once again placed under scrutiny. He was seen praying with Will Smith and offering advice. His words were calm and measured. At your highest moment, be careful. That line was interpreted in many ways. Some saw wisdom, others saw favoritism. What was missing from the discussion was Washington's consistent role as a mentor. He does not perform morality for cameras. He addresses people privately. That restraint was misread as silence toward Chris Rock. In reality, it reflected Washington's belief that public humiliation solves nothing.
You just came back from the Oscars, and congratulations, and hats off and kudos and all of that. But I got to ask you right now, Pastor Washington, you stepped in the middle of World War III. We were looking at Ukraine, and it happened on the Oscars when Will, who I love, smacked Chris, who I love. You came in as a senior statesman into that situation. Don't let me tell you about it. You tell me, what happened? What happened? What happened? To these icons, these legends got into a fight in front of the world. What happened? No, it wasn't a fight. It was just one person slapping the taste out of the other one's mouth.
Well, there's a saying, when the devil ignores you, then you know you're doing something wrong. Wait a minute, I'm not done now. You know, the devil goes, oh no, leave him alone. Man, he's my favorite.
right.
Don't you bother him.
Yeah.
Conversely, when the devil comes at you, maybe it's because you're trying to do something right. And for whatever reason, the devil got a hold of that circumstance, that night. And fortunately, there were people there, not just me, but others in the gap. Tyler Perry came right immediately, right over there with me, and some prayers, you know, keep it. I don't want to say what we talked about, but there, but for the grace of God, go any of us.
Yeah.
You know, who are we to condemn? You know, I don't know all the ins and outs of the situation, but I know the only solution was prayer. The way I saw it.
Hollywood thrives on spectacle. Washington does not. He believes correction should be private, not performative. That approach frustrates an industry that profits from public drama. Jim Carrey has expressed similar views, arguing that outrage culture often replaces reflection. Washington's calm presence during that moment highlighted a contrast. He was not chasing headlines. He was addressing a human being. In an industry driven by reactions, that restraint feels almost radical. It also reinforces why some perceive him as distant or unrelatable. He does not feed the machine. The idea that Denzel Washington is hated in Hollywood is misleading. What exists is a mix of admiration and resentment. He is respected, but not easily controlled. He prioritizes family over fame. He dismisses complaints about movie-making hardship by comparing them to real-world struggles. That perspective disrupts Hollywood's self-importance. Jim Carrey has echoed this sentiment repeatedly. When you remind people that their problems are small, they feel exposed. Washington does not romanticize celebrity suffering. He does not center himself as a victim of fame. That refusal undermines a culture built on constant validation. Rumors about tensions with figures like Tyler Perry or Steve Harvey often lack direct evidence, but they persist because they fit a narrative. The narrative is simple. Anyone who does not fully embrace Hollywood's emotional, currency must be difficult. These stories thrive on YouTube because they blur fact and speculation, turning integrity into controversy.
Tyler Perry, how you feel about the allegations he being accused of?
We got to deal with Tyler. We got to deal with Tyler. When you talk about the jealousy that the music industry has for black men, it's insane, bro. It's insane. Tyler Perry goes to the BET Awards. He gives a speech, and he's an excellent orator, by the way. I'm an orator. I study oratory. Tyler Perry could have been a pastor or a community activist. He's a very good speaker, very good public speaker. He says that I've made more millionaires than every other studio in this city combined. That's what he said. And don't you know, I don't know if it was the next day, but it was definitely the same week. All of a sudden, he gets hit with a $260 million lawsuit from Derek Dixon, who met Tyler Perry in 2019 as an employee of an event company. So he was working at one of the events that Tyler Perry contracted this event company to come to and host. He met Tyler Perry there. Tyler Perry invited him to audition for an upcoming show called Ruthless. Later on, Tyler Perry tells him, allegedly, according to Derek Dixon's attorney, Tyler Perry told him, I can change your life. Stick with me, I could change your whole life. He then invites him to audition for a role on The Oval. Tyler Perry series The Oval. Derek Dixon stars in 85 episodes of The Oval between 2020 or 2021 until 2024, 2025. In January of 2020, Art, right before COVID, Tyler Perry allegedly texts Derek Dixon and says, among other things, I can't remember the last time I had really good. Now, as a male, if another man sends me a text telling me he can't remember the last time he had good, I already know that that ain't somebody I need to be around alone, because he clearly got the wrong idea about me. In fact, I'm gonna have to let him know. In the future, fam, I don't need to know about life.
More tea to spill on P. Diddy, and this one ain't pretty, because it involves one of your most favorite television talk show hosts, Steve Harvey. Yes, apparently, there's a little birdie going around Hollywood saying that in the late 90s, Diddy, which I know about this because I had a friend who worked detail on the party, invited Steve Harvey to one of his famous freak-offs, and then recorded Steve Harvey in a very compromising position with somebody else, if you know what I mean. Which doesn't bode too well for Mr. Family Man, you know what I mean? So the freak-off situation got pretty crazy. There was a tape circulating. I have seen the tape. But the problem here is Diddy has been blackmailing Steve Harvey for the last 25 years, including, and this is also some reports that I've been able to verify, Diddy was dating his daughter, as well as Diddy's son was dating his daughter, and people said reports that Diddy was using her as an ATM machine. This is disgusting to my core to hear accusations like this, and I have to confess this to you people, but the truth must come to light. And all these disgusting stories will be heard.
Washington's greatest offense is not conflict, it is independence. He does not need approval, and that independence challenges an industry built on dependence. One of the least discussed reasons Denzel Washington and Jim Carrey face quiet resistance in Hollywood is simple. They do not need the industry to validate them. Hollywood runs on leverage. Awards, press coverage, future roles, and social access are often used as tools to shape behavior. People who crave approval are easy to manage. People who are already complete are not. Denzel Washington has spoken openly about walking away from roles, refusing projects that conflict with his values, and choosing family over constant visibility. That independence removes Hollywood's strongest form of control. You cannot threaten relevance when someone is not chasing it. You cannot manipulate fear when someone is not afraid to be forgotten. Jim Carrey followed a similar path. After achieving massive success, he stepped back, questioned the system, and even disappeared at times. Hollywood interpreted that absence as instability instead of intention. When someone chooses distance, the industry often responds by rewriting the story around them. There is also an unspoken discomfort when men like Washington refuse to self-degrade for acceptance. He does not joke about his own dignity.
I was the only one of the three that had a father in my life, even though my parents were together. But I still had a father who was a gentle man and a good example, and they didn't. We can blame the system if we want, but they didn't lock any of us up at 7.
Yeah.
We were all doing enough to get locked up at 13. My parents sent me in another direction. They didn't have anybody to help them, and they kept doing what they was doing.
He does not play helpless, broken, or desperate for approval. That quiet strength disrupts narratives Hollywood prefers, especially when those narratives rely on emotional exposure for entertainment. Carrey once said that fame shows you who is real and who is transactional. Washington's career proves the same. Respect is given, but affection is withheld. Not because he failed the system, but because he does not need it. Hollywood often calls people difficult when they cannot be controlled. Jim Carrey and Denzel Washington reached a level where approval no longer mattered, and that independence changed how the industry treated them. They set boundaries, spoke honestly, and refused to reshape themselves for comfort or access. Washington's authority and discipline removed Hollywood's leverage. Carrey's refusal to protect the illusion of fame did the same. Neither man needed constant attention, awards, or validation to feel complete. And in an industry built on dependency, that kind of freedom feels threatening. They were not pushed aside for bad behavior, but for being unmanageable. And that may be the real reason their presence makes Hollywood uncomfortable. So the real question is this: is Hollywood reacting to who they are, or to the fact that they proved success does not require submission? Let us know what you think in the comments below. If you like this video, hit that subscribe button so that you never miss out on any new videos. And until then, fam, keep it real.